just monsters smashing into each other.
This
is my favorite thing.
Simple schlock, and I don't want it to be anything else. Also,
Nope.
though, there's a giant shock death in this issue, so that's the thing. So yeah, it's 4 years after G-Day, which they say that in this book like 4 times.
So I think there's some timey-wimey going on. I think when we get the big kaiju stuff elsewhere, it's not on Earth Prime, okay, where the superheroes are. It's whatever Earth that Godzilla and Kong and that whole the legendary universe is. So to them, it's been 4 years, but for the superheroes, because we don't get any of that with our superheroes, right?
Yeah,
it's only with the kaijus. So I think the displacement for our heroes, it's only been a short time, and you know what I mean.
I mean, Matt,
does that make sense?
There's no need to speculate. It actually tells you on one of the pages.
Does it?
It goes back to the superheroes and it says Nevada Desert Earth Prime. It's telling you straight up that we're back on like Earth Prime and the other stuff wasn't.
Right, but then right. So that's why I think the 4 years after G-Day is that Earth, but it hasn't been 4 years for the heroes.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying there's no it's straight up telling you like Earth Prime and then other Earth, like, you know.
Right. Okay. No, I get that. I thought you were talking about the speculation of the 4 years for the Justice League. That's what I thought we were talking speculation on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I did think it was weird, though, that it kept coming up, because usually they'll just do it the first time you go to some other location, but they did it every time they went back to that Earth. They were like 4 years after G-Day. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right. Thanks for telling me again.
Awesome.
Yeah. I didn't think we were darting around in time with this stuff, but okay. So anyway, Barry's getting married to Iris early on in the issue, and some of the heroes are just watching it on a screen because it would be too weird. Like, because Barry's not told Iris about him being the Flash yet, he can't really explain a lot of these superheroes showing up. So only the ones that he knows is Barry Allen, which is basically just Clark with Lois and Hal, are the only ones that are there. Well, other than the other speedsters, obviously, but they're all related to Iris anyway, so that doesn't need any explanation. So basically, there's a lot of discussion from the other heroes of like, when's he going to tell her? In fact, Hal even says they've got a bet that whoever like tells either, you know, Iris or Carol first about their superhero status, they get to tell the other woman as well. So if Barry does it first, he gets to tell Carol that Hal's Green Lantern, which is a really weird bet, but it amused me, so fair enough.
No, but I like that Clark's like telling Hal, no, but I have little doubt that Barry will win the bet.
Yeah.
And Hal just goes, hurtful. I did like that.
No, yeah. Aye.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that's going on. That's all just kind of fun, like superhero stuff. The villains, though, and this is a bit more interesting, is Waller's assembled the Suicide Squad, some of which were in the first story, and basically she's like, hey, we've got like an Earth defense thing now that we're working with, and we introduced this other character who at this point we don't know who it is, we just know it's this Colonel guy. And next time we see them, we see that they've got King Shark in a test tube. And they're like, it's so obvious they're going to try and make him into kaiju size. But King Shark doesn't know. And they're like, is King Shark ready? And he's like, for what? I'm like, oh, King Shark, you're not prepared for what's about to happen. We get the tease that this has made Godzilla notice with his eyes at one point. And then obviously, you know, we get full on kaiju King Shark rampaging through the city. Godzilla shows up out the water. And comes to fight him. So that's like one side of the issue. The other side of the issue is the Justice League kind of tracing where like a Waller had a secret base in the desert. And the Justice League are here, they're showing up, they're trying to find out what's going on, but they're surprised to find a boom tube inside, and they're like, shit, we have to go find where they went, what's going on here. And of course, that leads to Skull Island, which presumably... I mean, it could just be like because they mentioned this appeared here after the events, you know, when everything happened with the monsters in the first story. I'm wondering though if Skull Island went back to its original universe at the end of that story. I'm not sure if they clarified that before or not, but that's
right, because it was that Toyman had brought all that to the DC Earth, right?
Vaguely, from what I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, And just the idea too that Supergirl, right, and Kong had that thing going on, because she's the blonde lady. Kong's got to be attracted to a blonde lady.
Because once they get there, Kara immediately recognizes where they are, and she's like, "Oh, this is Skull Island. This is where Kong lives. There's a bunch of monsters." So they have to fight off some monsters at first, and ultimately, they kind of notice, and this is why I'm thinking Skull Island's just on the other Earth still, and that the Justice League have transported there, is because the villains noticed that Justice League are on Skull Island, which to me says they've transported over to the monsterverse universe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Kong shows up, and he's pretty pissed because he's territorial. They try and talk him down, like, "Hey, remember us? Remember we worked together?" And that's the last we see of them, actually. We don't get to see kind of the payoff to that, but that's kind of the cliffhanger for the Justice League side of stuff. The stuff with the villains, though, is a bit more interesting. So, first things first, the King Shark stuff wears off, and he shrinks back down. So, whatever they did didn't last forever, right? So, he becomes normal again. They also established that when he goes big, he becomes really dumb. Like, his brain isn't big enough to, like, process the body of that size, so he's just a big, dumb monster when he's that size.
And I do love they said, but for King Shark, there's not much of a difference.
That's the obvious joke to make. Yes, it's pretty good.
Be nice to him. All right? He's got a lot going on.
But let's be honest, the big thing we need to talk about here is none of this shit. Yeah. It's the fact that this Colonel character challenges Waller for, like, who's in charge, and Waller fights back, and then we just get a blam, a gunshot. This Colonel has pulled out a gun and shot Waller in the stomach. She is lying dead on the floor, because we're out of continuity, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And this guy reveals that he is Colonel Leland Lafayette Shaw III, which, for those of you who don't know, is Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell's character in the MonsterVerse TV show Monarch, which is weird because he's not a villain in that show.
Nope.
And this is very villainous.
Yes.
So, hey.
Yeah.
BUCCELLATO's
I saw the name Shaw, and I was like, oh, okay, that's different.
Yeah, but I actually double checked to make sure it was the same guy. I thought maybe because it was the third, or maybe this is meant to be his son or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like a relation of him. But no, it's straight up the same character, apparently.
So I didn't realize he was the third in the show. So, seeing that, I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
At least as far as like the wiki page for the character, they think it's the same character. It's entirely possible this comic book might reveal later that it is actually like the son of the one we know from the show, or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, doesn't look like either Russell. Doesn't look like Wyatt or Kurt.
I don't know if they would be allowed to do that though, because that's like a likeness issue.
I guess so, right?
Yeah, they may not be allowed to try and make it look like the actors in that case.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was a surprise. Like, Kelly and Amanda Waller's a ballsy move, so fair play.
I mean, someone was gonna have to do it. That's just it. I mean, Waller's been causing a thorn in everybody's side. This guy's like, I've had enough. Also, seeing the lineup of the villains that we get to work with. If we get a kaiju cheetah, I ain't never gonna shut up about it.
Oh, you think they're all going to get kaiju versions? We get kaiju Harley,
I think
kaiju cheetah.
Maybe. I definitely feel like the more monstrous of them, I definitely think we'll get some. So King Shark wasn't obvious, but I think as they figure it out, making these kaiju versions for the Human Defense Force, whatever they're called.
I mean, obviously Kaiju Croc makes sense as well, but
yes.
I like the idea of Mecha Manta, like a big mecha version of Manta.
Yeah. Like kind of like Jet Jaguar, right? But it's Manta.
Sure. I could see that.
Yeah, I think that could be cool. But yeah.
Yeah, and for the record,
Kong remembers
just for everyone, because we referenced a character from the Monarch TV show, and people were saying, "Oh, maybe that's important or worth watching." It's not. Yeah. It's completely skippable. Nothing important happens in it. It's 10 episodes of just teasing you Godzilla. You see him for 30 seconds. It's not that good. Okay, skip it.
Look. If you like pulpy stuff and you want to watch Kurt Russell like I do, give it a watch. It's not a bad time.
After the first 3 episodes, it felt like it was just spinning its wheels. It was like trying to stretch out like 3 episodes of plot over 10. It felt super bloated.
It felt like it would have been a really cool miniseries that was like 4 episodes, and they swung it out to was there 10?
10, yeah.
Yeah, and it swung out, but there's still a lot of fun stuff in there. There's also a lot of stuff that makes you scratch your head. But as a comic book reader, I'm not adverse to that. You know, there's some very storytelling. But yeah, Ed Brubaker wrote on it, I believe. A couple other comic book writers.
Yeah,
as well.
there was a couple of comic writers on it, which was what kind of one of the reasons why maybe we were hoping it would be better than it was. And there was like little moments here or there that were good, but overall, all the present day stuff felt like a waste of time. The flashback stuff in the 50s, it was far more interesting, but a lot of the present day stuff just felt like it was spinning its wheels. It was all just characters traveling from point A to point B with not a lot going on, and
and then we get to the Hollow Earth stuff, and I thought it picked back up. Well, at least for me. But
I wouldn't be.
Anyways,
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a third series of this when Supernova comes out, because that's not coming out until 2027. So that'd be enough time after this one ends to justify a third, crossover. But we'll see. Yeah, this was decent fun. I think the Waller death was entertaining. I loved seeing Kaiju King Shark. It is just dumb fun. There is no depth here whatsoever.
No.
But I would be interested in seeing how this Barry and Iris stuff pays off, because it feels like there's going to be like a bit where they think he's dead or something maybe, and they have to tell Iris that Barry's gone because he's the Flash and he died in action. Only to reveal later maybe that he didn't, or maybe he will. I mean, hell, we just killed Amanda Waller, so why not? We killed Guy Gardner last series.
It is similar to how the first one opened, where Clark was going to ask Lois to marry him.
Yes.
So, and now we're at a wedding, and he hasn't revealed that he is the Flash. So,
it feels like that's like an intentional choice to kind of use like a superhero relationship to be like a sort of like human framing device around all the chaos that we're going to be going into.
So when Godzilla's getting ready to hit his nuclear breath, did you get excited? Because I got worried for King Shark, and then he shrinks, and he shrinks, and Godzilla looks a bit confused, which I do like. For as much as a gigantic lizard.
Well, I kind of like that he effectively suplexed King Shark, but he did it by like biting his neck and flipping him with that rather than with his arms. I thought that was kind of epic. But it is what it is. Yeah.
He's got the jaws open. He's ready to blast him, and then he just shrinks down. And Godzilla's like, my winning move, I don't get to use. He doesn't get to use his finisher.
Oh, he got blue balled. Yeah, he's like very unsatisfied, but he goes back off to the water, and there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, the art's decent. It's not great, but it's decent.
It's the same artist as the last one, right? CHRISTIAN DUCE.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was him. Time.
So, but yeah, no, like again. The Resurrection Man, very heady. Justice League versus Kong versus Godzilla, not at all heady.
No,
just read the monsters smashing each other. That's all I need.
No, I'll say this: like, if you're not interested in Godzilla or Kong, there's no point in reading this, right? You have to give a shit about them too, and that's like for the crossover for the Venn diagram people who fit into both camps, which we happen to. It's a bit of fun, but
I have a perfect circle. Comic books. Kaijus, we're good to go.
But there's nothing must read here. There's nothing important here. It's just a fluffy bit of fun on the side, which is easy to read. Like it flows quick enough. It's a decent time. Do with that what you will. What are you giving Godzilla, Kong, Justice League 2 issue 1?
I'm giving it a really fun 6.5.
Matt, that's actually a very sensible score for this. I was expecting you to give it like a 9 because you're you.
Look, Kong hasn't done anything cool yet. They put a cape on Kong, for whatever stuff. It's a 10, okay? But we haven't done that yet, so we gotta manage expectations.
I can't believe I'm going higher. I'm happy to just give it a 7. I think it's just perfectly good for what it is. It's not high art by any means, but if you want the romp that it's offering, I'm intrigued by where they're going forward, but we'll see if they've got the juice. And we'll also see, and this is maybe the real interesting thing, the first series used Mecha Godzilla eventually, Lex built one. What other MonsterVerse characters could show up by the end of this one? Are we getting Ghidorah? Because I would very much enjoy such a thing.
We're not talking covers, but there is a Dan Moore cover where he got to draw Ghidorah, and I don't know if that's a teasing or Dan Moore's like, hell yeah, you get to draw Ghidorah.
I think I remember seeing that when they solicited this actually, and I said, is this a tease that we're getting Ghidorah, or is it just a variant that means nothing? I know what I'm hoping for.
Yep. But yeah, I'm wondering because the first one was really heavy on the MonsterVerse only kaiju, right? I don't think we got Mothra or Rodan or any of the more classic ones from Toho.
Which, to be fair, the movies were like that as well. The first Godzilla movie had none of those. It wasn't until the sequel they started using some of the other ones. So I have to believe they wouldn't even greenlight another series of this if they weren't allowed to use at least one other monster that was known. So,
well, especially the MonsterVerse versions, like with the Rodan that's like volcanic. You know, like I'm sure they can work that in. You know, through Legendary and whatnot. But yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure with that.
What were they called?
He always comes from a volcano, Matt. I'm not sure why you're pointing out the MonsterVerse.
Well, no, because he has like the lava wings and stuff in the MonsterVerse version, right? He's very more like earthy looking than a gigantic pterodactyl, you know. But what were the creatures called in the first ones?
Oh, the Mutos.
I always forget. Mutos. That's right.
Yeah.
The big old bug creatures.